A recent Gallup survey spoke about 50% of the people working in corporate America probably being quiet quitters and probably more. Well, whether it's social media shares or it's articles and news reports like this or it's the corporate boardrooms, the news about quiet quitting is definitely no longer quiet. And many people no longer seem to be quitting talking about it anytime soon. So, what is this really? And how are people reacting to it? Let's start with some of the other news which we are seeing. Some are downright funny, like this. Some are deep, like this recent Mashable article which talked about organization psychologist Adam Grant's take on it, where he actually asked about why are we talking about quiet quitting as if it's equated to laziness, and why not think about what is work and what is pay and what's the correlation with that? Similarly, in the same article, there was a link from NPR and where they kind of discuss some of the common misconceptions people have around quiet quitting. Well, with that, welcome to ET Careers Gen Next, where we decode the questions of careers of today and tomorrow. I'm Deblina, and today we are going to delve into this aspect of quiet quitting in a simple way, thinking about what it means for us and what could be done to actually change this discourse. To start with, let's look at this definition, quiet quitting. Well, on the face of it, it seems to mean someone who is not quitting, who's in the job, but who is quietly just doing what is expected of them and nothing more. Well, I heard this description and I found this very, very odd. And let me tell you why. The problem starts with the definition itself. Someone who's not doing more. Someone who's not stretching or going beyond or, doing stretch goals, right? We have all heard these terms. Well, let me then take you to one more philosophy of performance management, which a lot of us have seen in organizations, the famous or infamous bell curve, right? Now the bell curve or the normal distribution has been used to classify performance and to provide incentives and rewards to employees. And in the bell curve, there were three parts which was calculated, right? There was a top 10%, people who continuously outperformed and who were going beyond and stretching beyond what was required of them. They were the people getting the best ratings and the best incentives. An organization had about 10% of them. That was the calculation in the normal curve. Then there were 20% people who were probably not yet suited to the job for different reasons. Could be new or maybe they were not just right fit for their jobs, etc. And that was the 20% where you needed special plans to actually understand what could happen. Then there was the 70%, the people who were doing their job consistently. They were working and doing what was required of them. Now, who are we talking about in the quiet quitting? Obviously not the top 10%. Are we talking about the 20% who need training? Well, they were not the ones who were doing their job in the first place. Are we talking about the 70%? Well, in that case, that was the bulk of the organizations which were following this methodology. And why are we then talking about this new term, quiet quitting? This always existed. Well, the definition problems only then go deeper. Who decides, what is to be done as work and what's additional and what's incentive, right? Are we providing the right kind of pay as Adam Grant talked about, or what really are we equating the pay and the work with? Let me come to the second part of it, right? Which is the legal aspect. Now, if someone's doing their work, what's being assigned to them, and they're doing that properly in a way which meets the requirements of that job, and they're not asking for more work, isn't that what always was talked about as work-life balance? And legally, there is nothing to really have any kind of discussion around this term called quiet quitting. So again, really misleading, the entire definition. And think about it from the other side though. If someone is using this organizational constraint to actually not work on what is required, but hide under this kind of quiet quitting umbrella and do other things and not focus on their work, then of course there could be a problem. But then the other ways to deal with it, right? And you always have had ways to identify people who probably were not really working out in an organizational sense. And think again about the discussion we had about moonlighting. Look at our video on that. Are we then talking about some other aspects like that where people are looking at different alternative methods of working? Definitely still not quiet quitting. Well, those are the two sides of the argument we want to talk about. Definitely the arguments will continue, but what is important is for organizations to start thinking about what is their response to such situations. Coming out of the pandemic, 2 years of working in isolation, as people are getting back to work, there are many questions, and maybe the future of work is really time for transformation and thinking right now, which people are going through. So let's think about very important things like this. How do organizations allocate work? What is the connection with the goals or the work which is to be done and the pay which is allocated, right? If employees are actually feeling disengaged, and that's the real source of the problem, they are just wanting to work quietly, but they don't feel engaged with the vision or with something larger than their work or their task, then what is it that they're disengaged about? Is it just enough to do employee engagement events, which some people might enjoy? Or is there a need to go deeper, have one-on-one discussions by managers and the HR teams and find out really what's required? And if it's just about people wanting to doing quietly their work, wasn't it always what was part of what was called work-life balance? So why this new term, misleading and erroneous term? So we really believe that discussion which has come up around quiet quitting is a part of the larger discourse which has come back after the pandemic around work, whether it's great resignation, moonlighting, quiet quitting, etc. And this will continue, and organizations need to start taking these seriously and maybe redefine how work is being looked at in the current and the next century. With that, we come to an end, but not completely. I want to share a small my limerick take on it. Well, here goes. I'm done for the day. I'm done for the day, but still got to stay till the clock strikes done. I'm done for the day, but still got to stay till the clock strikes done. Work's done, time for fun? Or is it quiet quitting, but just working my way? Well, with that, we come to an end of this segment. We'll come back soon with one more discussion about work and the future of work and jobs and careers. But stay tuned. Do let us know what are your thoughts on quiet quitting, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much.